We are Mirtz Hashem, continuing in Shaar Habitachon, and it is hard to believe that this is our last shir in this Sefer Mirtz. We have the great Schos and Mirtz Hashem to finish Shaar Habitachon today, so we continue. Remember, again, the Mechaber is going through the various stages in what we'll call Bitachon evolution. So we find ourselves on stage 7. So if a person develops his understanding, right, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu more, yiftach bo gam ki b'mashi tachin lo b'maktzas tachbulo. He'll rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even on things in which he could exert effort. Remember, again, in stage 6 of Bitachon evolution, a person expressed his Bitachon HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the things that he knows he clearly does not control, like the rain, like traveling by sea. As a person's emunah, or say bitachon, develops, so in stage number 7, he begins to put his trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even for things in which he can go ahead and invest his shtadlos. He goes, Kimor havas hatera besibos hamisukanos, v'amlochos hamiyagos as gufo, b'yanichin levitchono be'elokim shatrifeno b'mashi yakalis asek bo yosem. This actually harkens back to the beginning of the Sefer. A person will realize that even though I have to put in my ishtalos, I have to put in my effort for let's say my parnasa, but ultimately, again, I'm not going to do things that are dangerous, and I'm also not going to do things that are overwhelmingly difficult and that will potentially detract from my ruchnius. Because I recognize that even though for parnasa I need to put in my hishtadlus, but the results ultimately come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'imtechsak, 8th level, b'imtechsak ha'garas b'elikim yoser, and if I grow in my bitachon even more, I grow in my understanding, yasher b'tcheno I love b'chol asibos. I ultimately, again, will rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything. Hakasha mehen v'akala, both difficult things, easy things. V'chavim bis aska b'hen la'avodas halokim v'lishmar mitzvosav. And ultimately, again, in all of these different things, I will have the intention that I'm doing so as part of my service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and ultimately, again, the observance of His commandments. So, stage number 9. So now again, if a person's understanding develops even more, he'll begin to understand the great compassion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for all of His creations. He will consent. In other words, he will willfully accept all that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for him or does to him, both in public and in private. So in this 9th level of bitachon, a person realizes that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is motivated out of a sense of divine love and sense of divine compassion, and as such, I willingly accept everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu visits upon me, as I recognize that all of it stems from a profound sense of love. Lo yichsof l'zulas mashe bachar lo Elokim. I will not desire anything other than what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen for me. V'lo yirtze ela mashe ratza lo. And ultimately, again, I will only want what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants for me. V'nimtzar ela Elokim. I will give myself over to Hashem. Umashlich nafsho v'gufa al dino. And ultimately, again, I accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu's judgment upon my body and my soul. It is absolutely beautiful to contemplate what he's describing over here. In this 9th level of bitachon, essentially a person is just fully giving himself over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because I recognize that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu visits upon me, all the circumstances, all the situations are all motivated out of a profound sense of love. All motivated from a profound sense of love. And as such, says the Mechaber, I'm willing to accept. I give myself over, and I'm simply willing to accept. Not like a resignation, like just giving up, but rather, again, an acceptance, because I recognize that everything stems from HaKadosh Baruch Hu with such a profound sense of compassion and love. V'lo yagbia inyan al inyan. V'lo yivchar zulas mashu b'shubo minyane olamo. And ultimately, again, this is interesting, I won't weigh a certain means of obtaining my needs as more effective than the other. And ultimately, again, I will choose ultimately, again, to only involve myself in the things that I'm already engaged in. What does this mean? As a person who has bitachon once said, I never decided to do one thing, and in my heart decided to engage in something else. In other words, when a person has bitachon, ultimately, he gives himself over in totality and everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as such, again, Everything becomes part of my avodas Hashem. Such a level. Level number 10. Then when a person's understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu develops even more, and he recognizes ultimately again the purpose of his creation and of his entrance into this fleeting world, and he recognizes the greatness of Olam Haba, of the world to come, which is eternal. Ultimately again, I just become a bit turned off. I become a bit turned off by this world and all of its pleasures. So in this 10th level, again, so once again, obviously this is all sequential, but in this 10th level, I recognize that I'm here in this world to accomplish something. And the goal ultimately again is to accomplish and I reap the benefit, or I see the benefits of my labor in the world to come. So suddenly once I realize that, I want to stay away from the things that derail me from my mission and offer often overindulgence or over-involvement in the pleasures of this world simply seek to derail me. Rather, I choose to give myself over. I give myself over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in thought, soul, and body. When I'm alone, meaning not with people, I will take pleasure when remembering HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I'll feel empty when I'm not pondering His greatness. It's so beautiful. The words are so beautiful. Imagine reaching this kind of level. When I'm alone with myself, what do I occupy myself with? I think about the Ribono Shel Olam. And when I do that, I feel good. And when I don't think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I feel alone. I feel lonely. And if ultimately I'm among people, my sole desire is still to go ahead and please HaKadosh Baruch Hu by fulfilling His will. And I long for nothing other than an encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And ultimately, I'll be so happily preoccupied with my love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that ultimately, again, I won't get involved in people who are over-involved or over-indulging in this world. And ultimately, again, right, I'm sorry. So let me read that again. So if I'll be so happily preoccupied with the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that it'll stop me from rejoicing with other people who rejoice in matters of this world, nor will I be able to rejoice with the same ardor with the people in the world to come, rejoice in the world to come. So Zos Ha'elyona. So essentially what he's describing over here in this 10th level of bitachon, ultimately again is a recognition of the Olam HaEmes is the world to come. And as we've seen in Pirkei Avos, this world is but a prusdar. This world is but an antechamber. And the whole point of the antechamber is preparation for what lies ahead. And as such, I want to live a serious kind of life that prepares me. And I don't want to live the kind of life where ultimately I lose myself in the frivolity. We're not even talking about sin over here, but just in the frivolity or in the lack of meaning that sometimes people get so caught up in. This level, this 10th level, is the highest of all levels of bitachon. It's the level of the Nevi'im, the prophets, the pious ones, and ultimately special individuals with pure hearts. Literally translated, even in the path of your judgment, Hashem, do we yearn for you. The soul's desires for your name. As David HaMelech writes in Tehillim, my soul thirsts for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the living God. So, these are the 10 stages of bitachon, and every person kind of finds himself in one of these categories. So I just want to point out the fact that the Mechaber now goes through these categories, and now we see what's the goal, right? So the goal of bitachon really is that a person loses himself in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's really it. That at the end of the day, I recognize, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're the great choreographer of my life. So yes, I have to put in my effort, but in every single area of life, you are the choreographer. As such, essentially my entire mission in life is to embed myself within you. And once that happens, again, kind of step number 10 or stage 10 is the result of embedding yourself with God. Once I embed myself with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then by definition I recognize that I have to utilize this world to its fullest and not get caught up in the things that are going to derail or to distract me. So the Mechaber ends off by saying, Umatzanu inyan habitachon b'loshen hakodesh malitzim ba'ado be'eser milos can I get eser madregos. So he points out an interesting way to end. He says that we do find 10 different words for bitachon. Right, 10 different words for this concept of trust or reliance on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wants to explain that the 10 different words really correspond to the 10 different levels. What are the 10 different words? Miftach, which literally means to trust. Mish'an, which means to support. Tikva, which means hope. Machaseh, which means refuge. Tochelas, anticipation. Chikui, awaiting. Smicha, literally leaning or reliance. Shever, dependence. Mis'ad, help. And chesel, assurance. So these 10 different words for bitachon ultimately correspond to the 10 different levels we just said. However, the Sefer ends off, Halokim yisimenu min abotchem alov. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His mercy place us amongst those who go ahead and trust in Him, Hanimsar ledino benira benistar, who give themselves over to His judgment, both in public and private areas. Amen. Nishlam Shaar Habitachon lekel achron b'rishon. We have officially finished Shaar Habitachon, ultimately again in honor of the God who is last and who is first. However, it has been an incredible privilege to learn Shaar Habitachon with everyone. I know that for many of us, this was the first time really going through Shaar Habitachon in its entirety. And although, again, it's certainly dramatically different than Mesilas Yesharim, I think I can only speak for myself that it's really forced us to really focus and think about things that I know to be true, but I haven't really given that much focus on in life, about what it means to have a sense of bitachon, about what it means ultimately, again, to be the kind of person who knows that you have to put in ishtalos, you have to put in your effort, but at the end of the day, the Ribono Shel Olam is the great choreographer of all of the results of life. And now what I just see from the Mechaber, that what's my goal? My goal is I just want to lose myself in Hashem. That's my goal. I don't want to have like an arm's length relationship. I want to be embedded with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because when I'm embedded with Hashem, then by definition what ends up happening is my entire focus of life in this world fundamentally changes. And I'm able to maximize whatever amount of time HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me. Mazel tov, everyone. It's been an incredible privilege. And Emirat Hashem, truly looking forward to continuing our limudim together. Mazel tov. And I'll take the opportunity to wish everyone a good Yom Tov as well.